and to present briefly a report. It's a report on an initiative that the Technion, the Faculty of Architecture, the Center of Urban and Regional Development Studies, jointly with many others, including the Chinese School of Marine Sciences and Chial and others, we took the initiative to develop a marine special plan for the Sea of Israel, the Sea of Israel, which includes both the territorial water and the EEZ, the Exclusive Economic Zone. So what I will do now is give you, it was about a year ago that we started working. We have another year and so to develop the plan. And I will try to present to you a report and at the end call for all the experts and scientists and whoever is interested, and I'm sure that everybody here is interested, to really join, help, contribute, because we are trying to develop a participatory process where everybody is invited to join and to participate. So we will talk about the IMSP, the Israel Marine Special Plan, the organization of the work, guiding principles of the plan itself, first findings and insights, which is the Stage A report, part of the Stage A report, the GIS application that we are trying to develop, and then at the end try to point out a few of the goals that we formulated, we identified, which we think should lead the plan. Everything is open, as I said. Everybody is invited to criticize, to contribute because it's our. We are all in the same sea. So how are we organized? There's an integrating team, and these are the names. I will not read them. There's a team of researchers and graduate students that work with us. There's a multidisciplinary consulting team, so like about 20 advisors from academia and the private sector, representing 15 different disciplines. There's a stakeholder forum that includes relevant government representatives, NGOs, and industries representation, and a professional scientific advisory board. We have 2 of them here, present here, or more of them, 3 or 4 are here, and an international advisory board with 8 advisors from Europe and United States that specialize and are involved in marine special planning. So the basic methodology is, the main core is a very straightforward planning process that goes through 7 stages: collecting data, definition of vision, goals, and objectives, preparation of planning policy alternatives, consolidation of chosen alternative, preparation of a policy plan, dissemination, and implementation and monitoring. So these are the core classic way of doing it. But what is not classic here are the 2 wings. The red wing, which is the involvement of the experts that we are working with them in every discipline which is relevant to the sea, and the disciplinary scientific boards, the international and the national ones, that lead us professionally and scientifically. On the other side is the stakeholders, which we consider real partners in our effort, and we are working with them, and we are very open to hear from them, to try to learn from them, and to see how we can accommodate all the interests that are relevant to what we are doing, because there are many, many stakeholders and more stakeholders. And a forum, a multi-stakeholders task force or a forum, which gathers from time to time, almost every 2 months, in order to really make sure that we all talk the same language and we all learn from one another, and that things are really going well. The important point is that this is an iterative and interactive process. So within every stage, every classic stage, we do consult with the disciplines or with the disciplinary experts and with the stakeholders, which makes it a very, very wide open process. And I think that this is the way planning should be done. These are the work stages. We are now working on stages B and C. This is a time schedule. I won't go into it because we went through the stages, but this is the time span and what we're trying to do. A few words about the backgrounds, very briefly. Israel has a growing interest in marine resources exploitation as land resources decrease. Rising public awareness of the sea, it's a real revolution, in fact. Rising threats to the marine environment's delicate balance. Lack of an effective marine policy after years of focus on the terrestrial environment. Lack of integrated policy or plan that cuts across the land-sea interface. There is a recent initiative by the Ministry of the Interior to prepare a policy document for the EEZ. It is a major breakthrough in our mind, and we hope to contribute to the governmental process in order to achieve an effective document and further develop an agreed upon MSP. There's the sea environment, the marine environment is very complex, and it's different from the terrestrial one. It is distinctly different. There are vague boundaries. It's highly dynamic. It's three-dimensional, more than the terrestrial area, which is also three-dimensional, but this is much more obvious that it's three-dimensional. Recent enormous increase in economic development, data dispersed among various institutions and stakeholders, accelerated increase in number of power of stakeholders, underdeveloped and unclear legislation. There's a relatively weak governance in this area. Some people refer to it as the Wild West of Israel. Gaps in knowledge and data, and extensive, inaccessible, and unknown to most of the public. So it's not really an open place for the public, although it's an open sea, and everybody looks at it and thinks it's infinite, and perhaps it is. So we need to balance many uses which develop. So these are some examples of the uses that we're trying to look into. And of course, we're looking at other MSPs around the world, one of them the Belgian one. So this is something that gives you a hint of how things should be, at the end, be done. And then we developed guiding principles. How should the plan be? Not the objectives and the objectives of the plan itself, but the way the plan should be devised. So it has to be based on current data and cutting-edge knowledge, linking science with policy making and planning with integrated management, incorporating ecosystem-based management, EBM approach, balancing social, economic, and environmental needs, ensuring continued provision of ecosystem services, future-oriented, not just a mere compilation of what exists now, but looking ahead and see how things should happen, integrating all relevant disciplines and stakeholders' interests, so we talked about it, space and place sensitive. It's not something that we look at and which is unified, which is one. There are different places, different areas, and it has to be very much space and sense sensitive in all 4 dimensions. It's not only the 3 dimensions that we talked about, but also the 4th dimension, the time, because we can plan many things overlapping in time and others that differentiate in time. So this is another way of looking at the sea, which is a bit different from the way we look at the terrestrial environment. Flexible, adaptive, and responsive to unforeseen change and lessons learned, and accessible and interactive via friendly GIS tools for planning, participating, and managing the marine environment. We'll talk about it a bit later. And transparent, clear, and memorable. So it's, we hope the plan will be something that many people in the public will be aware of. It will be something that will be there. And we just talked a few weeks ago about the effort in Ireland to establish a new plan, a new map, the new map of Ireland, or the real map of Ireland, which in fact looks at both the terrestrial part and the marine part together as the real map of Israel. And this is what our friend, one of our consultants, Ronnie Sadeh, brought to us, and we think it's a good idea to develop such a plan that will stay in the memory of more and more parts of the public. The Stage A report refers to all kinds of data that we gathered, and you are welcome to look at it at the website, our website. But just a few numbers. We're talking about the EEZ, which is about 37,300 square kilometers. It's 30% bigger, larger than the Israel land territory, and 5 times larger than the territorial water, which are about 4,200 square kilometers. So if we are talking now about the deep water, so the main part or main effort that we are doing is trying to put more attention into the deep water, into the EEZ, which is in fact almost undiscovered until the recent years, when the development in energies occurred. This is how it looks like officially and geographically. We have the continental shelf, the continental slope, the continental rise, the deep seabed, and when we talk about the division between territorial waters, 12 nautical miles, contiguous zone, which is another 12 miles, nautical miles, and the EEZ from this, and the EEZ, which goes from 12 to the Israel-Cyprus agreed line, which is midway, which is around 85 nautical miles, is in fact what gives you an idea of how this marine space looks like. And this is how it is in the context of all the Mediterranean and so forth, and more closely looking at it. If all the Mediterranean countries would declare their exclusive economic zone, which is not true by now, there would be no high seas in the Mediterranean Sea. It means that the whole Mediterranean Sea will be divided into EEZs of separate countries. Each one of them has, of course, a responsibility as well as rights within this exclusive economic zone. So what are the first insights that we were discovering or developing when looking at the first stage that we went through? These are 9 characteristics and preliminary insights, and we'll go one by one briefly. And so first of them is the sensitive marine environment rife with conflict. There are threats. It is sensitive marine ecosystems. It has grown in the deep sea too. So this sensitivity We used to think that these areas are less sensitive, but yes, they are very sensitive. And there are potential conflicts that necessitate planning, synergy, and sensitive data-based management. So these are this is the first insight. The second is something that is not very obvious, but we developed, we understood very early, is that there's a lack of information and knowledge. Knowledge of deep water are very limited. Making science-based planning is difficult. No comprehensive policy of marine research, mapping, and monitoring. No coordination between the different government departments funding these activities. And the Israel Oceanographic and Limnological Research Institute has a National Information Center, but the government has not created rules for sharing that information despite being publicly funded. So this is some kind of a criticism or some kind of a problem that we have to solve, and we have to work in order to see how we solve these problems. It's a geologically and biologically unique environment with rare cultural and heritage values. We learned some about it in Zvi's lecture, and of course these insights that we learned later about archaeology were of course fascinating. So we are only in the beginning of what we can do, because it's a distinctive geological and geophysical and biological area. It is a natural laboratory because it's a sequence of many years here, and of course very, very versatile and very interesting. Biological uniqueness in the deep sea, not only in the coastal zone and territorial waters, and intensive cultural sequence of thousands of years, a historically rich treasure, and an undiscovered potential for tourism and recreation. The fourth point was it's oligotrophic. In fact, I really agree with Zvi's word that say, well, it's a desert. It's in many ways a desert, this area. It is a desert. It threatened and it has limited fishing resources, and there is obviously a need to preserve what exists. The sea is rich with energy resources, so you have some numbers here. It made, in fact, in very few years, Israel almost energy independent after many years of independence. This is the real big revolution, great revolution. It is the basis of development of industries, knowledge, and expertise, which is very limited right now, and it's something that should and could develop. We need to protect these energy sources and the transportation and operation infrastructure. And there's another challenge which we are not approaching yet, but is probably there. It's a challenge for developing clean, renewable marine energy sources, something to look at in the very close future. The sea is a gateway and a bridge to the world. In light of the unique geopolitical characteristic of the Middle East, Israel is in effect an island state, where the sea to the west serves as a gateway and a bridge to the rest of the world. Our proximity to the Suez Canal means that we have a larger number of cargo vessels that move around and in our EEZ, and of course approach our ports. Besides functioning as a corridor that links Israel with the rest of the world, the marine space can also serve as a base for international interaction and cooperation. So this is not less important in our view. It is a bridge. This is where we can really cooperate, interact with other, while being an island state in other ways, in the terrestrial aspects. The sea as a security and a strategic depth for Israel. It is a strategic asset. we have to protect the maritime routes. Israel is a very, very dense, and we lack terrestrial strategic depth, which means that the sea is our strategic depth. And of course, although it's in many ways a security threat, it also is an opportunity for cooperation and integration, which is another aspect that we don't very seldom look at and is very important to us. The eighth one is the sea as a territorial reserve, and we'll hear more about it in the next lecture, as I understand. Israel's marine area is larger than its terrestrial area. Its major population centers, which are in high demand for urban and infrastructure development, span along Israel's shoreline. So we are very close to this area, and it is looks as if it's a real potential. But there remains a great deal of doubt regarding the potential use of marine space to address these pressures. And I hope that the next lecture will uncover some of these doubts and lead us through new ideas about how to really do it. The ninth and the last one is the fragmented administration and limited governments in the marine space. The area is relatively new in the understanding and in the way people look at it, and this is why we have less regulation and less planning done around this area. Many government agencies exercise some regulation, but there is a lack of an integrated guiding policy, and legislative tools need to be strengthened. Recently, the Ministry of Justice developed a new legislation which is trying to now push itself through all the stages of approval. It can promise more appropriate control and effective governance, but it's still on its way, and it should be looked at very carefully. So just to show you one map, which is what is planned in this area. So you see that the most planning is done and very, very close to the coastline, and all these green and rose parts are proposed nature reserved, proposed by the but the Authority of Nature and Parks, and closed areas. The red ones are the closed areas by the military, which is not really planning. Both of them are not really a result of planning, and these are all go only of course, to the border of the territorial waters, and doesn't go further to the west, to the EEZ, probably because there's no, the jurisdiction is not very clear there. So this is the planning actually stops here. The other thing that I would like to present to you briefly is the GIS application for planning, participating, and managing that we are developing. So we are taking all these resources, global data-based AGOL. AGOL is ArcGIS Online, ESRI-based application, MSP databases, remote server of ArcGIS server that we have at the Technion, a very powerful tool that we are now employing. And all these go to both two engines. One is the AGOL, and the other is the Technion ArcGIS server. And they both enable us to develop the GIS tool for planning, sharing, and management, planning, participating, and managing. And we have a sharing website that we develop. It's not ripe yet and not ready yet, but it will be ready in few weeks, I hope. A planning application and a management application which will develop towards the end of the plan. So all these try to put together a tool that the participation and planning is very easy. We can sit wherever we are, we can open this application, and we can point out and comment on this and this within the map, and say things that relate directly to the geography of the place, and not only writing letters and mails and so on. So this is how it works, and it will be open to everybody who is interested to really participate. And we promise that whoever will comment and say and draw things on these maps will get a reaction from us, and will really be glad to work with him. So, and this is how the website looks. And the last thing is, our last effort is to try to formulate the goals of the plan. So this is something that we are still working on, but I would like to give you a glimpse of what we are trying to put together as goals. One is improve governance in the marine space in order to achieve integrated and synergetic management. Advanced study and research of the marine environment. We think that this should be one of the goals that we should promote. It's not only a tool towards things, but it's a goal by itself in order to allow scientific-based decisions. Protect and preserve the marine environment, of course, ensure sound exploitation of marine energy resources, and sustainable exploitation, I would say. Consider marine opportunities for land-based uses. We will hear more about it in a minute. Develop marine transportation and communication infrastructures. Consider the sea as a crucial component of national security. Preserve cultural and historic heritage of Israel Mediterranean. We see it as one of our major goals. Make sure the sea stays public and responsive to social needs. Stays public is very, very important. It is a public asset, and it should stay. So promote balanced marine agriculture as a basic food supply, and use the Mediterranean as a bridge for international cooperation. So these are the first goals that we are trying to put together and see how we develop them, and we are now in the course of developing them into objectives, more specific objectives that are measurable and can lead the plan as it develops. So the next steps will be development of selected alternatives, preparation of marine spatial plan, and recommendation for implementation and monitoring, and development of monitoring guidelines. These are the things that are still ahead of us, and of course, everybody is invited to take part. In this whole process, and we are trying to put all these together, because we heard this morning and will still hear things while we go in this conference, and many other research efforts that are done. Many things are learned about the sea, and many problems are there. But somebody and something, a plan and a policy has to look at the whole thing and try to put all these together. So that it makes sense on one hand, and it's manageable on the other hand, so that the government and other stakeholders would be able to really do what they should do in a responsible way and in an accountable way. But looking at all this, what are the questions that we ask in the process? Where are we now? Where do we want to go? How do we get there? And then, while evaluating and learning more, and there's a first sketch of the plan, what have we achieved, and how should we adapt and update the plan? So we see also when the plan is finished and is approved somewhere, whoever will approve the plan and whether it will be with the Ministry of Interior or without them, whatever, it can, even later on, it should be still adapted and updated because everything is very dynamic. We gather more information, we know more, and we can hardly foresee the future, although it's our role to do it the best way. And to sum up, it's time to have a comprehensive marine spatial plan to cope with opportunity and threat, to better manage the sea and sustainably exploit our marine vast and yet undiscovered treasure. And it's a call. We widely invite, a call and an invitation, we widely invite experts and stakeholders to join us and contribute through our website. This is the website. Please participate because the sea belongs to all of us. Thank you.